Document A shows action from the right to left. On the right side, we see an individual soldier with a hat labeled Viet Cong pushing down the domino labeled Vietnam, which is going into, in successive order, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Burma, India, Bangladesh. And on the other side of Bangladesh is a U.S. soldier, you can tell based off the helmet and the colors here, holding up those other countries. Document A is labeled the domino theory. Document B is the Truman Doctrine, modified. The United States has received from the Greek government an urgent appeal for financial and economic assistance. Greece is in desperate need of financial and economic assistance to enable it to resume purchases of food, clothing, fuel, and seeds. The very existence of the Greek state is today threatened by the terrorist activities of several thousand armed men, led by communists, who defy the government's authority. Greece must have assistance if it is to become a self-supporting and self-respecting democracy. The United States must supply this assistance. No other nation is willing and able to provide the necessary support for the democratic Greek government. One of the primary objectives of the foreign policy of the United States is the creation of conditions in which we and other nations will be able to work out a way of life free from coercion. It is necessary only to glance at a map to realize that the survival and integrity of the Greek nation are of grave importance in a much wider situation. If Greece should fall under the control of an armed minority, the effect upon its neighbor Turkey would be immediate and serious. Confusion and disorder might well spread throughout the entire Middle East. Should we fail to aid Greece and Turkey in this fateful hour, the effect will be far-reaching to the west as well as to the east. The free peoples of the world look to us for support in maintaining their freedoms. If we falter in our leadership, we may endanger the peace of the world, and we shall surely endanger the welfare of this nation. Great responsibilities have been placed upon us by the swift movement of events. The source is an excerpt or quote from the Truman Doctrine speech delivered by President Truman to Congress on March 12, 1947. Document C is a map showing how the Marshall Plan's $20 billion was distributed by country. And we see that the taller the dollar sign, the higher the dollar amount that was given to those countries. For document D, we see the Korean War. These are maps created from various sources. In number 1, we see communist North Korea, which is supported by the Soviet Union, which actually connects to right there. You see the letters USSR. Invades the U.S.-supported South Korea. The attack comes without warning, and President Harry Truman, with the help of the United Nations, vows or promises to defend democratic South Korea. In picture 2, we see American forces occupying Japan, which is out over here, after World War II, are sent to defend South Korea. The U.S. and the United Nations forces are nearly pushed off the Korean peninsula. So you see North Korea has done great damage, and this is the only remaining part of South Korea that is ally protected. The American commander is General Douglas MacArthur. In number 3, MacArthur stages a risky yet successful counterattack at the port of Incheon. So it goes around, and here's Incheon right here. North Korean forces are routed and pushed back all the way to the Yalu River right here, the border of North Korea and Communist China. So we see this right here is all that's remaining. China is right up above, and remember, China as well as the Soviet Union are both communist to the north of North Korea. In picture 4, in November of 1950, Communist China enters the war and pushes the United Nations and U.S. forces back into South Korea. Number 5, the war drags on for several years, finally ending in 1953, very close to the original 1950 border. The war caused more than 2 million deaths, including over 50,000 Americans. And we know that this war is in a ceasefire still today. Document E, the Berlin Airlift. The source is a map created from various sources. Zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole document in its entirety. This is Germany here. And we're going to see in box 1, at the end of World War II, Germany was occupied by 4 major powers. The Western 3 zones unified and became Western Germany, right here. So you see the American zone, the French zone, and the British zone. East Germany was communist, but the old capital of Berlin was divided up between the 4 powers. On June 27, 1948, Joseph Stalin and the Soviet Union decided to blockade any shipments, including food, coming into West Berlin. We're going to see this term blockade come up a lot through the Cold War. This is the blockade. Number 3, West Berlin was completely surrounded by communism and may have had to surrender if it had not been for the U.S. and its allies. In box 4, America and its allies decided to support the West Berliners by air, flying in supplies for the over 2 million people from nearly a year. So these are the air routes here from Hamburg, Hanover, and Frankfurt. Everything from food to coal was provided. It was a stunning turn of events, given that Americans had just 3 years earlier been fighting Hitler and the Germans, the same people they're delivering items to. On May 12, 1949, Stalin removed the blockade. Harry Truman and the nation was thrilled. So you see a zoom up here of Berlin. There's the Soviet portion, and then the French, British, and American, and you see the tanks that are surrounding it as part of the blockade.